podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Here, we love talking about everything Batman. The BatmanUniverse.net has news, original content, and reviews about Batman comics, movies, TV shows, video games, and more. Check out the BatmanUniverse.net and join our Discord server to start chatting with fellow fans. We can't wait to talk to you guys. Also, visit our Patreon page and join our other awesome supporters. But enough of this nonsense. On with the show.
Gotham City, like any other large metropolis, abounds in girls of all shapes and sizes. Debutantes, nurses, stenographers, and librarians.
Gotham City Library, Miss Gordon speaking.
Lopez hair removal. This is Jose.
Holy transformation. 1 minute, plain Barbara Gordon, librarian and Commissioner Gordon's daughter. And the next minute, something new has been added. Batgirl, modeled after her idol, Batman.
Holy apparition! No, Boy Wonder, I'm Batgirl. You are no longer alone, Caped Crusaders.
It took me 3 years to track down the Jade Gato, and 3 more to figure out how to steal it.
Funny, it only took me 10 minutes to figure out how to snatch it back. No matter how you do it, crime doesn't pay, girls.
Salvete, mihi nomen est Stella, ad hoc est Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 245 for April MMXXIV. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out MileHighComics.com. Well, today, the day that I am recording, April 21st, it is Big D's birthday. So happy birthday to him. But even more important than him, it is the birthday of Rome. And she's still looking fine, not a day over 2000. But there it was, 753 BC, the Perilia. Go read Ovid's Fausti if you want an alternate to what happened between Romulus and Remus. Maybe a god intervened. But yes, happy birthday to Rome. May you go and in order to celebrate, maybe you sacrifice some sheep. That's the way to do it. So yes, here I am. I was actually, for my intro, I was going to give you a status update of my job, and it was not going to be good news. Just, it's very interesting. I think I said this last time. It's very much like a one-sided relationship, just lots of applications. And either I don't hear back or I hear back, maybe you didn't meet base qualifications. We've decided to move forward with other candidates, or maybe I get one interview and then that's the last one. And, you know, there was a point in time where for several weeks I was filling out 2 to 3 applications a day. And I have so many. I have this application label in my Gmail just so I can go and put all of them in there. So there's probably like 50 plus in there. And I thought at some point, these are all going to start coming back at once. I was a finalist for 2 different positions and didn't get the one, which I thought I was a shoo-in for. I wanted some actionable feedback, and I was just told that they took a candidate that had more years on me. I have 10, so that's nothing to say that there's not a lot, and then a deeper knowledge of the AP exam, which is interesting, if only because I've done the AP every year that I had taught, and the Latin AP is changing. So technically, this person and I would be on the same page, but I didn't get the job. So we just have to move on and push forward. But I am happy to announce that I received an offer and I have accepted a full time position teaching Latin 1 through 5 at a school in Baltimore starting this August. So I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. And I think it'd be silly for anyone to go in and just only be excited and like nothing at all could go wrong. I'm not saying, everything's going to go wrong, but you do, I think, just have to be prepared. The first year is just a bear. Having 5 preps, I've never had 5 preps, so that'll be something. Following a beloved teacher who was there for 40 years, that's another thing. Getting to know the culture of the school and everything. And that first year, just really being watched, multiple informal and formal observations, people just pop in and you just got to be ready. So it's going back to square one, but I'm excited about it. It's a school that is diverse. It even has an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. There's a GSA, for goodness sake. There's a Muslim student union, for goodness sake. And yeah, I'm just happy to have students again and chat about Latin. And it'll be tough, but I'm up for the challenge and looking forward to it. So maybe 2024 is going to go my way. It wasn't seeming like that for the past few months, but fingers crossed. And yeah, thank you obviously this is a podcast and I don't have a conversation with you all, but I know you've been along the ride for the past several years and kind of witnessed my ups and downs. And I appreciate the support and just listening and everything. And I hope that things go your way. And if you're in a bit of a slump of jobs or whatever your future is, sometimes you do have to take a leap, which I did several years ago and it was scary. And who knew? I think I've said this before, but who knew leaving a stable job of 10 years would put me into such instability for several years and like mental anxiety. So sometimes, would I wish this on somebody else? You kind of have to decide that on your own. I think you can always ask a question of me and we can chat about it and I can give you thoughts. But it was what was best for me leaving that particular situation at the time, because I think I had outgrown it and I am moving forward. Especially being a multicultural educator, because that's really what I want to push for myself and just being better in that way. And my previous place of employment, I would not have been able to grow in that way. But this is a great school for me to be able to do that and experiment with different assignments and performance tasks and really having, I think now, a 3-way connection, because I typically compare ancient Rome with modern America just to make it relevant and more close to, what the students are encountering every day. But now having that third prong of actually bringing in home cultures, if I have like a Brazilian student, hey, what would that look like? And having this connection, this 3-way connection now. So those are things that I'm starting to think about. So I'm excited about it. And again, a little uneasy, but I think this is good. Just like courage, being a courageous person is someone that still has fear, because fear is like checking yourself and you're not going to rush in and do something. But how do you deal with that fear? So just like that, I'm going to have anxiety, but how do I deal with that anxiety for sure? But you'll be along with me. I'll be sure to keep you updated on everything. So she's not going to like that I'm about to do this, but I will blame the good Professor Coca for what's about to happen, because I said, would you like to come on BTO? And she said that she was busy. So she could not do the Birds of Prey arc that is 5 issues. And so I decided to use her as a scapegoat, which is kind of good because it's Pirellia, and basically blame her and say, well, because she didn't want to do those 5 issues, then I couldn't possibly do it on my own. So actually, this will be maybe a short episode as well. I can just imagine her eyes rolling. This might be a shorter episode because I'm just going to cover the recent Birds of Prey. And then hopefully, because she did tell me that she was more open in May. So here's hoping that we can cover that arc of Birds of Prey. Hopefully it's a good arc because I've like pushed it off twice now. So there you go. It's always nice to have friends who can act as your scapegoat so that you do not have to be accountable for anything. Before I get into that review, I do have some listener emails.
Mail time. Mail time. Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
So on episode 244, the birthday boy himself, Big D says, when Cassandra first appeared in 1999, she was said to be 17 years old. It was, if we consider the death duel with Shiva 1 year later, by issue 25, she's got to be 18, circa Bruce Wayne murder fugitive. Essentially, she's about a year or two older than Tim, Steph's age. When the new NU 52 happened, James Tynion said Cass was about 15. That's definitely about the age she and Steph appeared to behave in Batgirls, both Dark Knight Metal Multiverse, essentially restoring continuity back to post-crisis eras. We can assume Cassandra is about 20 to 21, which is what Tim Drake should also be if he's college age, but Lord knows it's still inconsistent. So that was when I just had no idea about ages. And I think that last point that he said, Lord knows it's still inconsistent, is just, yeah, it's like book to book, but we'll go with that. So she's about 20 to 21. And then Sin, I think we said, is 16. I also commented on that particular episode, and I said that I did my guy Fitzy dirty by only talking about his tats and playing hockey. He's sensitive, shy, an artist, and not an F-boy. And I love him. And this, I'm actually wearing his sweatshirt again. This was, I talked about my favorite male character. He would be my book boyfriend from L. Kennedy and The Chase and Colin Fitzgerald. He's just my favorite. He's different from the other ones. And I feel like I just did not do him justice. So there you go. Hopefully he'll be okay. And then finally on 244, Hornacek says, I look forward to Stella's Smut being a segment in future episodes. And then there's a smiley face. Maybe. I mean, Lord knows I haven't stopped reading it, so I could. And the Shipper Special. This is also from Hornacek. While I love the Jonah discusses shipping clip, I do miss the original Shipper Special theme with Heather Glenn. Yeah, that was lost, unfortunately, with the hard drive crash. And I could pull it, I think, from another one. The Careless Whisper, I think, would be the only issue because I won't be able to extract that cleanly, like the end where it fades out. It's possible it will make a return, but I just decided to do the Jonah and then that guy doing the extremes of what shippers actually do in fandoms and things like that. So those were all YouTube comments. Remember, you can always do that. And then via email about 244 from Earth 2, Shayna. Hi, Stella. One of the things I love about this run is how Thompson has weaved together these two arcs, and that in the second arc, we are seeing certain elements continuing on from the first arc. First, we have Meridian's reveal about Barbara, which is the setup for this arc's plot. Another continuing element is Sin and Megara. And finally, what I think makes this feel the most like old school Birds of Prey is the relationship between Dinah and Barbara. These are all things that were set up in the first arc, but weren't just neatly tied off and pushed away at the beginning of the second arc. I think it lends to a more natural pace for the story and brings the arcs together nicely. I hope it is something that continues along with satisfying conclusions at the appropriate times, of course. The first page of number 7 brought me right back to the Dixon and Simone runs. I cannot believe how nostalgic it made me. Though all of Dinah and Barbara's interactions in number 7 made me nostalgic. Stay safe out there, Shayna. And I will also say that Kelly Thompson herself responded to my tweet that that episode was out. And of course, I had a question, and she responds the answer to how can Meridian fight Wonder Woman and then Wonder Woman be unconscious in issue 5 is that Meridian fights possess Wonder Woman so that Cass and Zealot can get the urn to Dinah. Possess Wonder Woman then wakes and tries to fight them again, and Barda knocks her out. And I responded, oh, I see. So it was a chronological comment rather than both happening at the same time. And she said, yeah, it was simply Cass trying to express the importance of the urn. That earlier in the story, Meridian took the hit of getting between them and to possess Wonder Woman so they could get away and bring the urn to Dinah. So always appreciate she by no means needs to be doing this, right? And so the fact that she goes above and beyond, number one, just listening to the show, but also responding, I very much appreciate. And also, I love that she does, just because sometimes when people do this, like we do, the podcasting and doing reviews and stuff, you have questions, you have critiques and things. And if I'm by myself, then it's just me. Sometimes I have a question, I have a co-host on and they have the answer to that question, but other times we just don't know. And so authorial intent, right? A lot of times when we're discussing that in English class, we're like, well, the author's dead, so we don't know. Let's just make guesses about what the green white means in Great Gatsby. But here it's just lovely to be able to have questions or confusions, and then Thompson actually responds to them and then clears that up, which again, I just really appreciate. So I think that's it. Yeah. So I'm just going to cover Birds of Prey number 8. Okay. So Birds of Prey number 8, as you can see on the cover here, Babs. Not sure what she's doing back there on the stairs, but I guess it's symbolic of what goes on. So she is behind the scenes and comes in later at the end of the issue. But everyone else is getting ready. Cass looking at the fashion and not being happy about it. Barda, I think, holding a shoe that Cass will wear and kind of smugly smiling. And Vixen is just listening to a mixtape of some sort. And Dinah is holding up a brassiere. So I would say pretty classic. I mean, I just love the fact that Cass is disgruntled. So this is Birds of Prey number 8, Undercover Animals Part 2. Writer Kelly Thompson, art Javier Pina and David Lopez, and colors Jordi Belair. The publisher synopsis was: Mari McCabe, aka Vixen, has joined the Birds of Prey to help them get to the bottom of the mysterious villain hunting them through time. But first, Mari has a fashionably dangerous problem of her own that needs solving. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Never looked so good. Okay, so I'll just go through this. I actually don't have, which I feel like I say that and then all this stuff happens. I don't have a lot to say about this. It felt to me very transitional. That one was great and powerful, but it's that next one, it's number 9, that we're wondering what's going on here. And this 8 kind of was like a middle, like a shift, because it just continues from 7, and then there's the fight, and then Barbara leaves. Like it'd be the fashion show, the beefcake, and then Barbara getting taken would be the big points. And then there's all this other stuff that's going on to kind of fill those gaps. So it wasn't, I think, as strong as 7, but it's very much setting up 9. So I feel like 9 will be a return to the force that 7 had, in my opinion. Again, I think the positives, the fact that Babs as Oracle behind the scenes, but she is dressed up. The detail is that she is dressed up as Batgirl, ready to go if need be. Being that handler, and Dinah being the lead in the field, and having this back and forth, and really feeling this relationship come to life and be classic Dinah Babs relationship, where Dinah is asking her, like, did you know what was going on? And that's why you decided to sit behind, like, oh, maybe. But of course, Barbara can use the excuse that, hey, there's something else afoot. The beefcake, number 1, I did not know that beefcake is like moose or deer, where the plural of beefcake is also beefcake. And that's very interesting. I'm just going to go with it and trust Thompson. I'm not going to look it up or anything to check the syntax on that, but it's just really funny to hear that. Sin is interesting. The design itself of Sin is interesting, just with, it really is a two-faced situation. And later on, when she is arguing with herself, right here. And you actually see the different sides of her. It reminds me of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and in particular, how they did it on Broadway, where half of his face was Hyde during Confrontation. I think that's the song. Half of his face was Hyde and half was Jekyll, and he would turn face into the audience depending on who was actually singing at that point in time. And so this kind of reminds me of that, but it's unhinged looking. And again, I'm kind of concerned at that whole thing. So it is a funny joke that she almost spills the beans on what her name is, but then says, "We're the caterer." So the beefcake, and Barda is simping for the beefcake. Am I using that correctly? Which is interesting because I thought that she was married, but perhaps they're on the rocks. But she does say, "Are we really complaining about the beefcake? I think it's my favorite part." At the end of this page, this beefcake just hit me. So really the quotes and I think the hijinks in this episode are what make it, or of this issue, are what make it fun. The fact that all these beefcake are now starting to fight, and Barda, as Barda is, she's able to go after a couple of them. And then Barda is suddenly naked because she believes that the outfit is what it has the mind control. And I don't know when she was able to rid herself of the clothes. She just ripped it off immediately. Everyone is shocked. Obviously, I'm not sure about Sin here. Maybe this is a gay awakening for Sin, but Dinah, yeah, definitely wear your clothes. And the funny thing that, it's old school or classic Barda head over Barda's butt, kind of a la David Aja in Matt Fraction's Hawkeye when he's going around, and I think there's a Hawkeye head over his wee wee. So very good. And then I'm a Spider-Man fan, so I'm going to say it. They're fighting symbiotes. It looks like a symbiote. I just played Marvel Spider-Man 2. You tried to design it so that it was different enough, but honestly, I'm pretty sure. And another reason about the symbiotes here, or why I call them symbiotes, is because remember, symbiotes have issues with Sonics. And how are they able to get rid of them? How is the team able to get rid of them? Because Donna used her Sonic cry, or her canary cry, to blast them. So there's a Marvel crossover. Donna's fed up with the nudity, and it's just fun to watch Barda and her, I don't know, her facial expressions. Like, it seems like she's smug this entire time as she's yanking curtains down a la Scarlett O'Hara and making her own little skirt here. The entire time Dinah is, communications get cut, and Dinah's like, "Oh my gosh, don't let Barbara come in," because I think Barbara was very much the worst case scenario. And when she lost contact, of course she's going to dive in. But we were trying to keep her away from the scene. Meridian was told prevent. It didn't work out, but everything seems okay until the very end here, where, like a moth or on Bug's Life, when they're like, "Don't go into the light," she seems to be mesmerized by it and walks towards this suspicious looking energy field, and then is grabbed and pulled in. So I will say, I guess I just don't care for this, like, really over dramatic Dinah. I feel we see her here, we see her with Sin. It's like when she does this, it's like Barbara's already dead. That's what it seems like to me. Instead of the Dinah where, I don't know, shed no tears, just like jump right in there, which, there's a pause and then she does jump in, but I'm just like, no pause. This happens, just leap right in after her. So that's the only, I think, grievance that I have, is just she's showing her acting chops here in these past couple issues when she loses somebody. And of course, she gives the order of do not, under any circumstance, follow me. And of course, nobody is going to listen to her. So, I mean, gosh, yeah, if Harley were here, she definitely would not, but she is no longer on the team. So then they go and walk off, and we're told next is Into the Great Unknown, which of course you can cue the Frozen 2 song. But I do like this final page with them walking, and then at the kind of the reflection of the floor, you see a skull. So foreshadowing, which might be bad. That'd be so shocking if they killed off Barbara Gordon. I don't know if anyone. I hope. I don't want to. I don't even want to say it because I don't want to conjure something happening. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say. So fun. I mean, I would still say it's fun with the remarks that are made, the interactions between the two of them, or between everyone with the team, the beefcake, Barda being naked randomly. I guess in her mind, it made sense. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So again, more transitional for me. And then I'm just really interested to see what happens in issue number 9. And what shall I give it? I think like a solid B maybe. So maybe 8.5 out of 10 birds. I think that's pretty good. So thank you. And my final segment, oh boy. Yes, is my literature recommendation, or as we could call it, Stella Smut. Again, because I'm reading so much smut. Well, I will say before that Tom and I, for episode 90 of Required Reading, we are going to do a special talking about smut, the culture of it, the development of it, the effect and impact of it. Should we be concerned? And so just be aware of that. But if you listen, when I told you not to, if you listened to Dear Reader with the Jane erotica, then that book does not even come close to what I'm reading now, I would say, which is sad. I thought that was extreme, but I've read some really, really filthy things. So we'll be chatting about it. But that was all to say that I think if you feel uncomfortable hearing about smut or hearing me in particular talk about it, don't even listen to episode 90 because we're going to be real about it. And I said that there will be an explicit tag on it. Okay. Read. Yes, the smut, if it is worthwhile, I'll tell you to read it. Man, I can't remember what the last one. I think, I'm pretty sure I said that I've read Have I Told You This Already? Stories I Don't Want to Forget to Remember by Lauren Graham. Actually, maybe I didn't because that was post my interviews. I read it or listened as an audiobook. It wasn't as good as her first memoir, but it was still interesting. Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. And it was an uplifting one because compared to Electra and Ariadne, which were downers for obvious reasons, that one was more positive. I'm excited for what she's going to do with Hera. That will be interesting. I did, as a smut recommendation, I did really like Catching Feelings by Maren Moore, which was technically, I think, the second of a series, but I liked this one. I read this one first and I liked it more than the first one after I read the first one. I also really liked Sidelined Love by Emery Page. And that was a hockey player and someone who really liked chess, which was an interesting pairing. So I liked that. The Song of Spider-Man, the inside story of the most controversial musical in Broadway history. I saw this show in previews, and yes, it did stop. But to know the background from start to finish, from the inception to when it changed from what I had seen and it finally opened and then it closed. I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts. I highly recommend it if you're a Broadway fan and if you're interested in that. Matching All the Way, another smut book by Veronica Eden. I really liked that. There was also no third act breakup. They were kind of secretly, they were like not dating, but doing stuff via phone. And then they finally dated and it was like in secret. And really the only conflict was like when people found out about it, but they never broke up, which I do appreciate. I like when they're together for a while and you get to see what the after is of the together. Because often they're together, there's a breakup, they get back together, and that's the end. And then there's an epilogue and you get to see the future. But I like it when there is no breakup and you can kind of see the development of the relationship. So I do recommend that. Trick Play by Veronica Eden, I also liked. And that was a novella, so it was shorter. And there was kind of a nerd in there, a nerd and a hockey player, and I really liked it. The Future by Naomi Alderman. So I hesitated to give this a 4. I would think more of like a 3.5. I like The Power More by Naomi Alderman. It was losing me a bit. I was starting to get a little fatigued and bored, but the last 50 pages alone are nuts. And so I mean, just hold on for the end. One of Us is Lying, which I just finished by Karen M. McManus. I think I heard about it on a Princess Weeks video. I really liked that. I thought it was really interesting and engaging. And I'm very proud to say, not being pretentious, but there were two big plot points that I was guessing, and I was right. And so that doesn't normally happen for me and mysteries. Yes, I enjoyed that. And so that's it. I did just read Cleat Cute, which now I can't remember what I forgot to say. I finished it. I just finished it this morning. And what's funny about that, so Cleat Cute was a Christmas gift from Donovan, and it is queer smut. And I just saw an Instagram post that Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe are producing what will become a TV show based off of that. And I'm like, that sounds about right. That would be the creative team. And yeah, we shall see. But that's also good research material for Tom and I, because we're trying, even though het smut seems to be like the biggest, or as much as you can see when you go to Barnes and Noble, obviously we have other things. And I haven't read any gay male smut, though I did read a couple Why Choose things, which these things I've ever read. And there, because it was MMFM, there was I guess a bisexual pairing. I guess technically it would be. So there was like queer mixed in with heterosexual. It was interesting. But yeah, all things that Tom and I will be talking about. So anyways, there you go. Stella Smut, yes. Now I have to like split it up between Stella Smut and then my literature recommendation. But that's actually going to be one of the questions where Tom and I will kind of analyze where does it belong, I think, in terms of quote unquote literature, and how should we be judging it, in terms of quality, and should we, or is this just like, it's fun, it's escapism. We're not going to be judging it on its qualities like we're going to be judging The Great Gatsby. I'll just pull that again because they're different things. So we'll also be talking about that. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion. But again, content warning for everyone. Hey, thank you for stopping by to listen and chat with me again. Happy birthday, Rome. Happy birthday, Big D, my sometimes beloved. Remember, you can send any questions or comments to backrow.oracle@gmail.com. Like the show on Facebook or follow it on Twitter @backrow.oracle. Subscribe to the show on YouTube for an uncut version, and follow the Batman Universe on Facebook and Twitter as well. And support TBU by subscribing to Patreon. Once again, thanks to Mile High Comics for sponsoring Backrow Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast. Next time, maybe me and Professor Coca chatting about Birds of Prey, a 5-issue arc that I cannot recall the name off the top of my head. Maybe. But until then, fly on, Babs lovers.
Just plain Barbara Gordon, masquerading for a lark as she rides into the night on her special Batgirl cycle. Who knows? Is the dynamic duo destined to become the triumphant trio? Only time will tell us more about this dazzling daredoll.
I love a happy ending, don't you?